J. Aquarius Assembly Complex. A massive steelworks, formwork, and column transport complex focused on the initial construction of Linderong city foundations. The complex was constructed in quite a hurry and with a truly disproportionate amount of resources, due to the importance President Martyr placed on the Linderong construction project, both out of a personal love for the idea as well as a need to prove to the people the benefits of his reimagined society after the turbulence of prior events. This complex was known for its lax attitude towards safety and the particular danger of its machinery, often leading to much disdain from workers. The people previously employed at this facility now reside in Oncon. Their stories about the harsh factory turning into myths that have kept this specific industrial powerhouse from ever restarting production.
Oh my god, is this such a big build. So as you can see, we have been, rather busy this past month, because we've been working on the first level of our adventure map. And yes, I did see first level. This is just the first level. And while the building parts of it are entirely finished, including these water tunnels, dark mazes, and areas that we'll get to later, a level isn't just about the build, it's also about the code, the enemies, the puzzles, the boss fights. But I am, of course, getting ahead of myself with that. A level of this caliber requires a lot of work to do on the coding side. So if that interests you, then stick around for this HOA devlog. Alright, let's start with the main entrance. And as you can see, it's, very wet. Also, I'm kinda lying, there is a different main entrance into the facility. But as you can see here, it's gated off. See, this level is split into 4 sectors. This is Sector 1, this is Sector 2, here is Sector 3, and then Sector 4. In this entrance here, you can see is, in Sector 4, so the players aren't actually going to be able to access that way until a lot later into the level. So for now, they need to take the entrance from Sector 1 into the water maze. And after going through a bunch of different waterways, they'll eventually reach this area. Oh, great, the lights aren't flickering. Hold on, give me a second here. Hey, there we go. There you go. Now it looks scary. Especially if I turn shaders on, because, that's very red. See, here is the first breaker that players are probably going to come across. There are a ton of these that players need to flick on to complete the level. But if you thought that it would just be as easy as flicking a lever and moving on to the next, I got news for you. This is an abandoned facility after all, so why not scare the players? The idea is whenever you flick on this lever, a bunch of mobs start ambushing you in this room after a couple of seconds. But they're not just going to be any monsters, they're going to be ghosts. Because, you know, if you're making an abandoned industrial complex setting where there are a bunch of workers died, why not make the enemies all the ghosts of the previous workers? And I can just imagine players going into this room, seeing all these flashing red lights, flicking this lever, and then getting completely ambushed. Oh, it's gonna be great. Time to code it. Alright, so after a little bit of work, I have something that I'm proud of. So when I go ahead and flick this lever, it activates the breaker. Great, I have time to leave. Oh, that's pretty freaking cool. So these are just generic zombies, they're not anything too special. I mean, other than the texture, of course, but, you know, if they horde up on you, then they might be a little bit of a problem, but other than that, not too bad to fight, just pretty much a jump scare for the player. The best part about it is that with just one command, everything resets. I can just do it again. I did want the zombies to be, like, semi-transparent on the green part, because, you know, it's supposed to be a ghost. I couldn't quite figure out how to do that. At least not yet. If I do figure it out, I will absolutely do that. But for now, it's not too big of a deal. Now, there are a lot more rooms in this area, a lot of which are pretty empty with no chests or decorations or mob spawns. So I kind of figured that I would just knock all these at once, do the code for the loot and the mobs, as well as the decorations all in one. But that's all minor stuff, so wow, that is bright. Jesus. This place looks really good with shaders, by the way. Although I'm not going to entirely show off how to get to the next breaker, I will show you what happens when I flick the second one. I need to actually code it first. Alright, this is the first time I'm testing this. Maybe I, should have done that off camera. Anyways. Hey, I think that worked. So this gate on the railway will open up, as well as the first service gate in the water maze, both of which lead on to Sector 2. And so the player must click on both of the two breakers in Sector 1 to move on to Sector 2. And then in Sector 2, you need to hit all the breakers to go to Sector 3, and so on and so forth. And just like with everything, this resets as intended. So welcome to Sector 2 of the assembly complex. We've got a lot of cargo boxes here, as well as various shipping containers and a crane, as well as a lot of service gates. No, seriously, there's another one right here, and over here, and this is service gate 4A. There's a 4B, and a 4C. Not to mention there's also a giant pile of rubble that blocks access to the rest of the area. Which I'm now realizing is not actually entirely impassable. There are ways to get around it that I have to fix. Because, well, it's supposed to completely block off the player from progressing. Now, a lot of this area is just more of what we've seen in Sector 1. For example, here's a different breaker in Sector 2, which, looks about the exact same. So I'm just going to focus on what are the actually interesting parts of the level. Which brings me to this color puzzle sequence combination lock thing. Words. There is a different area in this sector that does give you the solution to the puzzle, which I'm not going to spoil. All that's important is me trying to figure out a way to make this combination work to open the door. Or gate, I guess it's an iron gate, not a door. Anyways. I do have command blocks back here. Gonna, need to perform a lobotomy on this building just to access them. I'm gonna go ahead and code that, not making the actual solution the one I show off. So I guess I'll see you in about, 3 seconds. Alright, and after a little bit of code, it works. This order is not actually the correct one. It's just what I'm gonna show off in the video, so you don't get spoiled what the correct order is. But yeah, and here there's gonna be another breaker. In fact, this is main breaker 2, so not even the first one that players are gonna find in Sector 2. The other ones just don't really have anything special besides, some mob placements, which I still need to put in. There's a lot of work to be done here. So after I'm done with all that, I'll see you in Sector 3 because oh my god, do I have something complicated planned for that part. Moving on to Sector 3 now, we make it to the manufacturing hub. This is probably the biggest, if not second biggest building in the entirety of the assembly complex. Just look at it. And on the inside, there's all these platforms and props, and there's a lot of loot in here as well. But more importantly, I'm planning on putting a pretty complicated puzzle in here. You see, in the middle here, there's an elevator with 2 buttons for up and down. They currently don't do anything. Also, yes, this is exactly the reason why I decided to retexture command blocks to be gray. Around the area, there's these control panels which can send the elevator to different floors. With the yellow one just simply sending it to that floor, but the green one specifically sets the maximum height of the elevator to that floor before sending it. So this one doesn't just send the elevator to floor 4, it sets the maximum height that the elevator can go to floor 4, and then sends it up. So this way, let's say you're at level 1 and you press up, it will go up to floor 4, because that's the maximum that has been set. And the idea is they eventually get to the top at level 5, where there is a breaker. Oh, there's also another breaker here, but I'm not going to show you how to get that one. Now this is a pretty complicated puzzle with an even more complicated solution, and it might take some time to get it right, but I'm up for the challenge. Okay, I think I fixed this. I did not fix that, it's still in the ground. Did I not reload? Wait a minute, try it again. Nice. Okay. So that's working. Is it slightly jittery? Yeah, it's slightly jittery. What are you gonna do about it? Okay, now I need that to work for all the other floors. Just gonna set to 5. Don't test it. Oh, sweet. That will bring me back down to 0. Yep, that's all working. Okay, that's a small bug. Cool, this is working. Yeah. Which means that this puzzle should be complete now, and I can playtest it. I'm not going to show you the solution to it, but just trust me, it is solvable. So this here is the security team offices, or administrative offices, whichever word you prefer. And in here is the first breaker for Sector 4. The idea I have for this area is something that is definitely in a lot of other games. As you pass through this gate, I want to just completely close behind the player. And there's going to be all sorts of mobs spawning into this area here. There's going to be a bunch of different waves of monsters, with each one getting progressively harder and harder, and all of them need to be completed for these gates to open. Because while there have been a couple of really interesting puzzles in this level, there hasn't been a huge combat challenge, so this is what that is going to be. The first wave would just be these fodder enemies that are easy to deal with. In the second wave, they're going to have some armor and weapons. The third wave will introduce the sniper enemies that have an anti-material rifle and are very loud. Then the fourth wave has the security guards that do more damage and have swords and move faster than usual. And then the fifth wave, pretty much all hell breaks loose and all the different enemy types are in one arena and they're all trying to kill you. And god, that gun is loud. So I went ahead and coded all 5 of these waves. It took a little bit of time to get, the balancing right. Now moving on to the rest of Sector 4, we come across what is probably the biggest building in the entire level. Yes, I know I previously said that the manufacturing hub might be the biggest, but I actually do think that the power plant is bigger in terms of surface area. Although it is definitely shorter. Look, biggest, second biggest, it's all the same. It's still huge. But this is actually the turbine hull of the power plant. This is the final area of the level. And normally it's closed off by this blast door here. Because on either side of the hull, on the upper level, there's a breaker. And both of these need to be flicked on for the doors to open. But you may also notice that there is a gate blocking the way. And that's because it's time for yet another puzzle. Now, the code to solve the puzzle is in this book right here, which is why I'm not gonna show it. But the idea is that there's gonna be a certain order that you need to flick these levers in to open the gate. Some of them need to be on, some of them need to be off. Again, the book has the code, and I'm not going to show it. What I will show is that there is a little bit of a hint for the player left behind. This is a mirror text. And I've actually previously shown this off in the very first HOA devlog. This gives a little bit of a hint on how the puzzle may work. Actually, there's another one on the other side which gives a little bit more information. So we're in the home stretch now, just one more thing to code before that over there. Alright, let's get to it. And why didn't that work? And there we go. Worked that time. And on the other side, it also works. There we go. And just so I don't need to show the solution. There you go, it's all reset. Oh, that's not right. Those levers should not be that way. I'll go ahead and spoil the fun. That opens the turbine hull blast doors, which means afterwards the player is able to access the main part of the power plant. There's just one last part to do, but I'm pretty tired, as you can probably tell from my voice, so I'm gonna save that for another day. Okay, I made something really, really cool. It involves that guy over there. In fact, it looks even cooler with shaders on, so I'm gonna show you that. Oh, hell yeah. This entire room just becomes red. And this guy, not getting up. So, might as well just ignore him and try to leave. Well, that's not good. Oh yeah. So this is the boss, or I guess mini-boss for this area. And just a little bit of a spoiler, the entire model and the animations were completely finished like a month ago. So I already know everything this guy is gonna throw at the player. But it just looks really cool. The inspirations are, quite obvious. But other than that, let's get into the animations. So first you just have the boss's generic run cycle, nothing too special about this. And then you have all of these attacks, such as him punching you, which could then be followed up by a strong punch. You also get the slow charge punch that I want him to use when he's far away to close in the distance. And then his last attack is spinning. Yeah, it looks a little goofy, but I like it. So the animations are already done, now I just need to actually implement the attacks themselves. Alright, so I've made a lot of progress since the last clip. I have fully implemented 2 attacks. So the first one is the spin attack, which you can parry, of course. You know, it has a decent range to it, so try not to get hit. Then the second one are these punches. Now, the interesting thing about this attack is that if you parry both punches, he does a follow-up. And if you manage to parry all 3 hits, you'll see that little bar up there went to 1 out of 3 charges. And so when you do it for a 3rd time, the boss will get stunned, and then proceed to break. I don't know why this is happening. I think I identified the problem. Yep, there we go. He's working now. I also kind of feel like the boss is a little bit frail. Like, you can really just DPS him down without really needing to engage with this parry system. So I think I should actually increase the boss's health. Alright, I've implemented the charging punch attack, this one. So he basically lunges at you and you can parry him. And as you might have been able to see there, if he ends up basically behind you, then he will spin back around to face you, which is pretty cool. But if you're really far away, it is hard to get behind him, and so he'll just end up right in front of you and not do the spin. I mean, you can just bait him to not do this attack at all if you just stay close to him the entire fight as well. That's another possibility. And while it's pretty easy to dodge, it's also really fun to parry. So you know now everything but the boss is done except for, well, one thing. He doesn't die. I need to make him die. And afterwards the door opens up for the player to leave. And after adding some polish and some small changes, such as adding moss and grass to areas, oh, and also poking holes in the roofs of some of the buildings, I think I can now say with confidence that the J Aquarius Assembly Complex is officially completed. And this project just took such a long time to make. And between the whole thing being built and all the assets being placed in and really just the entire level being made here, it was difficult, but it was also really, really fun to make. So if you enjoyed, make sure to subscribe because there is a lot more work to be done on this map. No, like seriously, that was just the first level. Yes, the first level.